The city breathed in equations. Pavements adjusted themselves underfoot, lights slid along invisible rails, and the air carried a faint metallic taste, like someone had polished the sky too recently. I had been warned about this place. Walk slowly, think carefully, and never, under any circumstances, make physical contact. But warnings tend to dissolve when gravity hums at the wrong frequency and your translator implant decides to lag half a second behind reality. I was trying to read a floating etiquette symbol that kept rearranging its own grammar when the crowd shifted. Not rushed, not chaotic, just a precise, collective step to the left. I didn't get the memo. My boot caught on a seam in the street that hadn't existed a moment ago, and momentum, that ancient human enemy, did the rest. I collided with something solid, warm, unmistakably alive. Specifically, I collided with her butt. The universe went quiet in the way it does right before you die. I knew enough to know what I'd done. Physical contact here wasn't just rude. It was a social weapon, a statement, a declaration of intent I very much did not intend to declare. Around us, the city paused. Drones hovering overhead adjusted their lenses. I swear one of them cleared its throat. She turned slowly. Her face was calm, unreadable, almost human, except for her ears, long, elegant, extending back past her hair, angled with deliberate control. Every alien within sight lowered their eyes. I realized, distantly, that I had bumped into someone important, or dangerous, possibly both. Those categories overlapped a lot out here. "Do you want to die, human man?" she asked, her voice smooth, translator catching up just enough to make it worse. "No," I said immediately, then added, "Not today. I have laundry scheduled." A ripple passed through the onlookers. Confusion, not laughter. I raised my hands slowly, palms out, the universal gesture for please don't atomize me. "I'm sorry," I said, forcing my voice steady. This street changed shape. It does that. Streets on Earth don't usually do that. They mostly just disappoint you consistently. Her eyes narrowed slightly. The drones dipped closer, their sensors humming. Some kind of truth field shimmered between us. My implant prickled as it synced. Apparently, sincerity here could be measured in microns. "You acknowledge contact," she said. "Yes, regretfully. Enthusiastically regretful. Contact implies challenge." "I assure you," I said. "If this were a challenge, I would have stretched first." Silence. Long enough for my heart to consider escaping my chest and applying for asylum. Then, unexpectedly, one of her ears twitched. Just a fraction. If I hadn't been watching her like my life depended on it, which it did, I would have missed it. "You did not flee," she said. "I trip. I apologize. It's a pattern." She studied me not like a predator, but like a scientist who'd found an error that refused to behave correctly. The city resumed its breath around us, careful, distant. Somewhere, a status hologram flickered, unable to categorize the moment. "State your intention," she said. "To continue existing," I replied, "preferably with all my atoms arranged the way they are now." Another pause. The drones drifted back a few centimeters, as if uncertain. I felt sweat slide down my spine, gravity tugging just a bit too hard. She turned fully toward me, long ears casting thin shadows I pretended not to stare at. "You are unusual," she said. "I get that a lot," I said, usually right before someone charges me extra. For the first time, the corner of her mouth moved. Not a smile, nothing so dangerous, but something adjacent to it. The crowd remained frozen, tradition holding its breath. And standing there, alive and improbably intact, I realized that whatever rule I'd broken, something else had just cracked quietly in response, and the sound of it was not entirely unpleasant. Time did not resume so much as renegotiate itself. The crowd stayed respectfully distant, yet I felt the pressure of attention like static under my skin. The drones hovered at what I hoped was a less murder-adjacent altitude. She gestured, a small movement of her hand, and a translucent ring flared around us, muting the city. My implant whispered legal warnings in 3 languages, all of them pessimistic. "By protocol," she said, You should already be incapacitated. I get that a lot too, I said. Doctors say it builds character. Her eyes stayed on me. The truth field hummed again, apparently offended by my tone. I tried to stand straighter, which on this planet meant leaning slightly to the left and pretending it was intentional. If it helps, I added, this is the worst first impression I've made all week. You are making light of a fatal breach, she said. It's either that or scream, I replied. Screaming rarely helps negotiations. She considered this, head tilting just enough to make one of her long ears shift position. The movement felt like punctuation. You are calm, she said. I'm panicking very politely. A flicker of symbols scrolled in the air beside her. Lines of alien law unfolding and collapsing as if arguing with themselves. I recognized a few concepts: honor, intent, hierarchy, and several I hoped never applied to me. The ring around us pulsed once, then stabilized. State your origin, she said. Earth, I said. We're the ones who put wheels on suitcases and call it innovation. Your species is classified as emotionally inconsistent. That's generous. A sound escaped her then, sharp and brief. If laughter had been engineered by committee, it might sound like that. She stopped immediately, as if surprised by herself, and one of her ears stiffened in embarrassment. The drones twitched, recalibrating threat assessments. You disrupt procedure, she said. I disrupt furniture too, I said. Tables fear me. She stepped closer. I resisted the urge to step back, remembering that retreat might be interpreted as guilt, or worse, choreography. The truth field tightened, pressing against my thoughts. Images surfaced: crowded subways, clumsy apologies, a lifetime of bumping into things that mattered more than I expected. You did not intend dominance, she said slowly. No, I said. I barely manage competence. Silence again, but this time it felt different, less like a countdown. The city noises filtered faintly through the ring, distant and curious. Somewhere beyond it, alien society waited for a rule to assert itself. My designation carries consequence, she said. Others fear error in my presence. I can relate, I said. My resume has that effect. She studied me as if I were a paradox refusing to collapse. You speak freely to someone who could end you. I found honesty travels faster than terror, I said. Also, I talk when I'm nervous. If I stop, check my pulse. Her gaze softened, not visibly, but in the way gravity softens when you stop fighting it. There exists a clause, she said. Rarely used. Mutual acknowledgement of anomaly. That sounds promising, I said. Do I sign something? Bleed on a crystal. You acknowledge fault. I acknowledge intent. I can do that, I said. I am extremely good at acknowledging fault. The ring flickered, law symbols rearranging themselves into reluctant agreement. The drones rose slightly, as if embarrassed they'd overreacted. She dismissed the field with a gesture. The city rushed back in, pretending nothing unusual had happened. She turned to walk, then paused. Do not follow too closely, she said. My society frowns upon repeated contact. Understood, I said. I will maintain a respectful, non-but-related distance. One ear angled back again, just a little, and as I fell into step beside her, carefully, cautiously, I realized I was still alive, which felt less like luck now and more like the opening line of a very complicated conversation. We walked longer than protocol probably allowed. No alarm sounded, which I took as a good sign, or at least a less bad one. The city flowed around us, architecture adjusting to her stride, stubbornly refusing to accommodate mine. I compensated by paying attention, something I had not been particularly good at before nearly dying because of inattentive but related diplomacy. You should be avoiding me, she said at last. I am, I said. This is me avoiding you in parallel. She glanced sideways. One ear angled back, then returned to neutral. You interpret danger oddly. I grew up somewhere dangerous, I said. Emotionally. Family dinners. She considered that, Your species uses humor as armor. Yes, I said. Sometimes as a weapon, mostly as duct tape. We reached a transit node where light folded inward and spat out destinations like suggestions rather than commands. Her rank symbol flickered again, unsettled, as if the system itself wasn't sure what to make of us standing there together, unafraid. Or at least pretending convincingly. Others will question my decision, she said. They question mine all the time, I said. Usually in performance reviews. She stopped. This time, when she turned to face me, there was no threat in it, only resolve. You altered a moment that was fixed, she said. That has consequence. I didn't mean to, I said. But I don't regret it. The truth field wasn't active anymore, but I felt something confirm that statement anyway. Internally, maybe, I had spent most of my life apologizing to get out of trouble, to smooth edges, to disappear safely. This time I'd apologized and stayed. There is fear in my society, she said, of disorder, of connection. On Earth, I said, we're afraid of silence, so we fill it, sometimes with nonsense. She let out that sharp sound again, longer this time. The transit node pulsed, confused by the emotional spike. You are disruptive, she said, and there was no insult in it now. And you, I said, are less terrifying than advertised. Careful, she said. That is almost friendly. The system chimed, announcing my departure window. I hadn't realized I'd been waiting for it. The door of light opened, humming softly, impatient. You will leave, she said. Eventually, I said. I tend to come back to places that don't kill me. She reached out, stopping just short of contact. A deliberate pause. A choice. If you return, she said, walk carefully. I will, I said. But I can't promise perfection. One ear tilted forward. Then perhaps, she said. Neither can we. I stepped into the light, heart steady, mind loud with possibility. As the city folded away, I understood something simple and dangerous. I wasn't smaller for having survived. I was wider. And somewhere behind me, a rigid system had learned that not every collision was an act of war.